day, another Marvel series, or so it seems to be lately. But I really wanted to talk about this one for a few reasons. First of all, we've got a Wednesday release slate, like with Loki. So I can watch it, I can get my thoughts together, and then I can record, edit, and upload a video within about 3 days. Brilliant. Thank you, Marvel. But more importantly, this is an anthology series. Now, I love me an anthology series or film or whatever. Anyone who knows me or has been on this channel for any length of time will know that fact. But that's not the most important part of this. An anthology series doesn't always or usually have an overarching plot. I don't have to wait until the end of the series, because I believe the only consistent thread throughout all this is that these stories are being told to us by the Watcher, voiced brilliantly by Jeffrey Wright. There is no story linking them all together. So, for the first time, I think ever, I can actually bring you my thoughts on the Marvel What If series every week, 2 days after it airs. So let's start with episode 1, because where else? Where we explore what would happen if Steve Rogers didn't get the Super Soldier Serum, but instead it went to Peggy Carter, and she became Captain Brit. No. My one gripe, she became Captain Carter. And people might be like, well, maybe they're saving Captain Britain for something down the line. This is what if. They could use whatever character they want, and then still use them down the line in their proper versions. That was my one gripe. Everything else I did love. I love the fact that we have so many of these people back, and in fact, there were a couple of casting things that confused me in different ways. I wasn't sure, about halfway through, I was like, is this Chris Evans on the sly, just doing this without telling anyone? But it's credited at least as Josh Keaton, so I'm going to give him massive credit for doing a pretty good Chris Evans impression. On the flip side of that, I didn't think Neil McDonough would come back for Dum Dum Dugan. It didn't sound like him to me, but apparently it was. So if I don't have the actor visible, apparently I'm easily confused by voices. But of course we did have Hayley Atwell come back. We've got Toby Jones. We've got Ross Marquand, who's taken over from Hugo Weaving as Johann Schmidt / Red Skull. And so many other people, obviously Jeremy Renner and Samuel L. Jackson. And it was great to hear these people, especially, Peggy Carter and Hayley Atwell again, because I enjoyed the ABC series. I think it should have and could have ran even longer, but I'm not going to dwell on that. But how it tackled gender politics in the 40s and 50s, and had a really strong female character who wasn't allowed, really, by society and her environment to bloom in the way she should have done. There are a few people who believed in her, but those were progressively minded people or innovators like Stark. But she was constantly fighting, and I love the fact that this series does tackle that. Bradley Whitford's replacement character, I think, for Tommy Lee Jones's character, I think that's what it's meant to be here. Initially, when it all goes wrong, when that one change happens, when she gets it instead of Steve, is like the experiment's a failure. It's, what's the point now? We can't put a woman on the front lines. But she persists, and like I say, those people around her who care for her persist. And I like the fact that they gave Steve Rogers something to do by having a proto-Iron Man, I guess, in the Hydra Stomper. Because realistically, skinny Steve Rogers isn't going to be hanging around this elite unit unless he's got something. So the fact that they gave him a reason to continue being part of the story was nice. It meant that that relationship could still form, just with the dynamic shifted. But I also love the fact that, well, before I go into that, when I first, started really getting into the MCU, one of the characters I didn't really have much attachment from growing up was Captain America. I'd never been really into war or anything like that growing up, and like I say, just wasn't a character who had much going for him in my eyes. I could attach, or, I could empathize, I guess, with elements of Peter Parker, because I also grew up poor and, not genius level, but I'm quite intelligent and often had to struggle against my financial backing, if you will. But also the X-Men, who are a great allegory for race and LGBTQ stuff, part of which I have to deal with. So I could latch onto characters in those areas a lot easier than someone like Captain America, who was, as far as I was concerned, just a really strong soldier who punched Nazis. That's all I knew. But through watching the films and gaining this understanding, I think by about Civil War, I really started to warm to the character. And this isn't a failing on the writing or on Chris Evans at all. Chris Evans did a really good job. But it's because the character had that natural growth and had to look inside himself and go, I need to be more than just the anti-bully. Because there's a great moment in the first Avenger, as much as it's not one of my favourite films ever, where he's talking to Dr. Erskine, I want to say. Someone's going to correct me if that's wrong. Played by Stanley Tucci. About, does he want to kill Nazis? And his response is, no, I just want to stop bullies. That's all that Steve Rogers is. And Captain America, or the super soldier serum, enhances that. Again, in that same scene, they discuss the fact that it just makes what's there bigger. So if you're really bad, you are now extremely bad. If you're really good, you're extremely good. So I love the fact, which is what I was going to say before I sidebarred, that they didn't just have her be female Steve Rogers. Because Peggy Carter isn't just anti-bully. She's also a woman in the 40s and 50s. Everything that she does to get a seat at the table, she's fought for 10 times, if not more, harder than the boys. And she brings that. We see that in this character. We see that in this version. She's still having to prove stuff. Even when she's got the super soldier serum and they're saying it's a failure, it's like, put me out there. The only way you'll know if it's a failure is if I do not perform the role that you designed this to fulfill. So give me the chance. And like I say, people who believe in her, like Stark, help her fulfill that, and she does. But Steve Rogers wasn't really enjoying the fighting. He enjoyed the idea of putting people down who were putting other people down, but he wasn't enjoying it because he enjoyed the fighting. I think there is an element of Peggy Carter where she does enjoy the fight. There's a lot more fun that she's having than Steve was shown to have. And like I say, I enjoyed this for what it was. I think it was a good way to give a different perspective on a character that has been a part of Marvel for so long that it's almost like a mascot to a degree of the brand. And like I said, I think it was the right time for it. We've built an attachment for over a decade with these characters, and now we're seeing different things. So next time, I think, is the T'Challa episode, which is a nice tribute to Chadwick Boseman, but we'll talk more about that then. But until then, as always, thank you for watching, and take care.